are very, very important. Also, the investors should see that there is quality, there is value for money, and this sector, you cannot underestimate it. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie, for already has really entered into the topic, and he's saying, look, we already have some little bit of issues here, that there are some critical skills that are lacking, issues of management, issues of quality control. What can we really do? I want to confirm from the expert, the investors now, you are referring to investors. Are these the issues that you have? I want you to narrow it to a little bit to skills development. What could be some of the critical skills issues that you have, both maybe in hospitality, but maybe also in tourism? What are some of the issues that you find are very critical, and maybe that all of us should think about also from the training provision?
Thank you. The last speaker came with very big guns to a knife fight, so I don't want to look like I'm defending us, but in my opinion, the problem is twofold. Like I said, before we started this, we carried out a skills audit in the hotel sector where we hired a consultant, and the first thing that he went was to the training institutes. I'll give an example. He met very many training institutes where people up to the expectation, both of the student and of the industry. The trainer told the consultant and said, but an omelette is still an omelette, whether you use charcoal firewood or a gas stove. So, in all honesty, how do you expect this candidate to come from that kind of attitude, that kind of training, and expect this person to come and perform at a hotel? One of the things that I usually want to emphasize is that hotels are not training institutes. Hotels, number one, are in business for business, to make money. Their first duty, when you come and see Fairway, this person puts up this project to make profit. So when you tell him that we are just going to send you these people, we want you to give them lunch, give them transport, and yet they are breaking trays of eggs every single day, it becomes very difficult for this person to come and partner with you, which is why I specifically put funding as one of the backbones in these PPEs. We are willing, we will give the space, but also we need to manage expectations and know that unless we have ways of funding this kind of training, then maintaining and sustainability will be a problem.
Oh, thank you so much. Maybe before you leave the microphone, yeah. I think now that you have talked about funding 4 times, I was counting. Because I know Douglas, I heard him last evening on one of the main television stations. Douglas was saying, yes, as private sector now we are coming in and we are committing that we shall also explore ways of contributing to skills development. Don't you think that funding could be one of the areas that you look at? For example, if you must improve your businesses and get profits?
Okay, I'll again give a model that in my opinion is very successful. Number one, let us also manage expectations that after COVID, the funding from the private sector is going to be very difficult because we are still paying loans, we are still paying taxes, we've not had business. So just to manage expectations, that one we might need a little bit of help going forward. But also I will give an example of the apprenticeship program that we have with the ILO, which is 5 years. And ILO said, again, people will invest where they can see they are going to get a return on their investment. What we have done with that project is that for year 1, ILO said we will fund 100%. In that way, the owners will be able to see, is this an area we can invest in? For year 2, because we want sustainability of the project, ILO will fund 80%, the employers will put 20%. Now, what we envision is by year 5 of the project, of the lifeline of the project, the employers should have appreciated and seen the value of this kind of partnership and be able to actually fund this kind of program themselves 100%. So we need to balance the boat in all aspects.
All right, thank you so much. Now, Enoch, you've heard Jean is saying we need and we must balance the boat. And I'm sure you knew what she was talking about. So, from the Minister of Labor, how are you really balancing the boat? But more specifically, how have you prepared? You know, I know Eddie was talking about provision that students are sent into the world of work. So for you as a ministry, what are you doing? How have you prepared the world of work really to accept these young people to come and get the skills that will improve and increase the productivity? And of course, certainly that means profits, right?
Thank you, Ham. And indeed, you talk about the acceptability of the graduates into the world of work. And acceptability of the graduates into the world of work will depend on the abilities of the graduates. Do they have the relevant skills? And that is the most important thing. And as Jean has mentioned, we are partnering. Actually, the ministry, the government, as I mentioned earlier, has started the dual training system, that some training takes place at the workplace, some training takes place at the school. Now, we've done all the preparations for the apprenticeship program. And the one in the hotel industry is a pilot. We are piloting that. And once we successfully do it, we pick learnings from that pilot, then we will be rolling out to other key priority sectors of the economy. The idea here is that the employer should participate in equipping the young person with the skills that he or she thinks are relevant to the industry. You know, one of the challenges we've had as a country is what I would call perhaps a diploma disease, that everybody runs to school to get a degree whether it is relevant or not. This is why even people have gone to the extent, you know, of these academic bureaus in Wandegeya. I don't know that they are still there. Somebody is not studying, but finds a way to pass the exams. That's very, very, very dangerous. But through the apprenticeship program and other forms of work-based learning, including internship, including internal training within the organization, these will help to streamline, especially the relevance of the skills at the workplace. And this pilot is going on, as Jean has mentioned, and as it goes on, we'll be getting learning points to make sure that we improve it, and as we roll it out to other sectors of the economy, then it should be a perfect model. You see, the whole country is actually, the whole world is moving into the apprenticeship, into the work-based learning. Reason being that the skills for work are changing very fast. It is unlike in the past where you would go get your degree, get your diploma, and you use it for the rest of life. What is happening now is that the skills you get at school are relevant for a short period because the technology is changing every other time. In fact, it is estimated that skills you get at school are relevant for only 5 years. Beyond 5 years, technology you use will have changed, methods of doing, the tests will have changed, everything will have changed. So continuous learning is a must. And the ministry is investing in this. And I'm happy that the tourism sector is already adopting this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that gives us hope now. The Minister of Labor is already collaborating with the The Minister of Education is also working with the industry. The industry is ready to receive the students, but of course, somehow it should also, there should be a contribution, according to Jean, that both of us should really balance the both together. Well, it's a critical discussion.
Maybe one critical thing I should mention is that the level of cooperation has increased within government, first of all, because under the National Development Plan 3, we've adopted the planning model, the program approach planning model. And what we do under this planning model is that Ministry of Education and Sports, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Ministry of Health and Ministry of Water, they come together on a sitting table and we plan together, because Ministry of Education is giving skills. Ministry of Labor is also receiving these people into workplaces. Now, when we sit together and agree, then it makes a better model. And all that we are doing, planning for the apprenticeship, for the internship, or for all forms of learning, we are working together with the Ministry of Education to see what kind of change can we cause. We are also working with employers. Jean told you, we are working with them, and we'll be working with many other employers to make sure that whatever skills we are thinking of, they are relevant to the needs of the employers, without forgetting the role of the workers, the trade unions, because they also have an important role to do what? To play. They have a lot of influence on the workforce, and we also involve them. So we are adopting that kind of partnership, and this partnership is working, and we call upon everybody to be part of that partnership. It has a lot of benefits to bring forward.
Thank you so much. I thought I would really have more time to, to pose more questions. I am receiving a number of questions from this side, and I thought I would ask them to you before you leave. But I must also say, let me give them the opportunity also to ask. Let me not keep it to myself. So I just need a few questions to our panelists. Keep it brief, keep it simple, and let's do it very fast. We only have 5-10 minutes to find out with the discussion. The first question is,
know the skills that they need. Because you are they are saying you people who are half-baked. Have you tried to get in touch with them and find out what do they need? How can you hold? How can you establish a relationship between you who are absorbing the graduates and them who are training? So it's not a matter of having a plan. In fact, I'm not surprised that trainer told you what this person needs is a knowledge. As far as the trainer is concerned, the trainee needs to know how a knowledge is made. But that trainer does not look at what equipment this trainee is using. Now you, who is the employer, know you have modern equipment in your setup. So have you tried to let the trainers know what you need, so that as a Ministry of Education can improve these training institutions? I'm sure they can, but they need to know what you need.
Thank you.
When the curriculum is made, things are put in place, but as you said, the technology is always in.
It's not only the curriculum, and the curriculum should be based on the needs of the employer. So is there a way that the industry is informing the trainers of what you need? Thank you. Yes? Be a little bit louder.
very much. Now let me stand. Thank you very much. My name is Conrad Akol. My issue goes to the Ministry of Education. I happen to have just come back from a project where I was doing some work, and we're going into these training institutions. So my issue is, why are these training institutions accredited when they don't have facilities? For example, we would find catering students studying how to lay a table in a classroom setting without even any practicals being carried out. So to me, that is where I begin my complaint from. I remember one time, and I always tell people this, I went to Utalii College from Makerere University, and the kids were so happy to see a university student, but instead they were disappointed because I did not even know most of these practical things. These people start training. If you're training in catering, if you're training in the kitchen, you start from by the time you come into this training, you are put into an institution for training. You are just polishing up. You're not beginning. And then, like Jean talked about funding, could there be a way whereby, for example, you have talked about this hotel being the best in training. Is there an incentive given to these training institutions? Because these institutions, hotels, for example, they open to make money, not to train. Why should I open to have someone break my tray of eggs, break my plates, which I ordered from somewhere? Maybe there should be an incentive coming from the government to these institutions so that they will even encourage others to also call these people so that they go into what? They go into training. That is all for now.
Thank you so much. Any more questions? Any more questions? So, Eddie, now that you're the representative of Ministry of Education, I'm sure it was a
My name is Bishop Paul Mbanza, and my question goes to Enoch, and maybe other people were here. Enoch said he loves traveling professionally, and even as a person that he loves traveling as an individual. I would love to know whether he travels on per diem or he books. Because if you travel on per diem, you are not traveling, but you are just earning or your own work. But if you travel and you have booked, then you are really a traveler. And this would be a challenge, maybe to all of us who are here, that if you are traveling, if you are looking at skilling the tourist guides, people should now begin booking travel or should begin paying for travels, not just traveling for using the per diem. Thank you.
Bishop Mbanza is an assessor, so Enoch, that is, the assessment has just started. Any other questions or comments? Just behind you. I think that should be almost the last question, and the very last one here, then we close it.
I want to thank our panelists for the wealth of wisdom they bring to the table. Question is concerning the partnership between the private sector and the public sector. The private sector seems to be fast. They effect very quickly, they have timelines, they have accountabilities. But when you go over to the public sector, it's dogged by inefficiencies and bureaucracies. How is this partnership going to survive this disconnect as far as operation is concerned? Are there any ideas? Are we coming up with something new, or have you discovered something about how a fast runner can run with a slow runner and still effect on the result side of things? Thank you very much.
I'm not really sure who will answer this question. It's both those that run fast and those who run those who run fast and those who run faster. All right, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, the last question is here, and then we can close it.
Thank you so much. My name is Kato. I have had, I want to give credit to the panelists for ably giving a discussion. My concern is almost related to what she had brought. It is to do with the institutions. When you get a student from the institution into the hotel or into the practical field, you find them totally different. They are not, you find sometimes that there is no connected relationship between what the student is expected to do in the world of work vis-a-vis what they have studied. So mine maybe will be on the curriculum. Is there a way that the ministry can readjust on the curriculum so that maybe they can add more time, because I don't know what happens there, they can add more time for practical skills within the institutions themselves. Maybe they can have more time given to the practical than the theory. So maybe the student is like 1 month practical, 1 month back to classroom, 1 month practical, something like that. Because then when they come, it is a big challenge to hotel owners, even to the site guides or facilities, the owners of facilities. When you find that you absorb someone and you feel you have to do pure training from ground one, and it is a very big challenge. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those great questions. Wow, I don't know where we shall start from, but we just have 3 minutes to respond to all this. I think I should start with Minister of Education, the minister responsible for training. Most of the questions were directly going to Eddie. Please, Eddie.
Yes, thank you so much. Let me attempt, because your questions are really genuine and tough anyway. But this, I could say, is all our responsibility. Now, Madam there asked one of the big questions, $1 million question here, that why do we accredit institutions that do not have the minimum requirements? Now, who has been accrediting these institutions? Maybe if I asked members who are here, do you know any regulatory body in Uganda that accredits institutions, especially at TVET level? Actually, I can say it is not there. Yes, it is not there. Actually, it is the TVET policy that now is bringing up or creating what we call TVET Council, that is going to regulate, that is going to monitor, that is going to see how these institutions are performing. Now, what has been happening is that ministry gives license for institutions to operate. And the process has been that somebody corrects a lot of information that is required. They require you to register from LC 1 to LC 3. You send pictures, you send whatever, they come to the ministry, and when the file is heaped like this, they give you the license. There has not been enough funding for the ministry officials to move to the institutions to see exactly what happens. Monitoring and supervision has been very, very poor. Basically, somebody talked here about funding. And this problem of funding, we cannot only rely on government. In the 2008 BITVET Act, it was emphasizing that there should be a skills levy of 1%. Skills levy comes from who? From the employers. Now, the employers, as somebody mentioned there, over 13 years, now for us since 2012 up to date, the skills levy has not been implemented. Basically, because of none agreeing on the modalities and appreciating. So, what I can say is that many have mentioned that there is now a goodwill for trainers and for also employers to join and create a competent and skilled employee.
I love it when you say employers will work with the trainers. I think that's very, very important, and it's the gist of this discussion. Because in the interest of time, maybe you'll come back to the other questions. I really wanted to run to Jean. Jean, there is a question, and I think it relates to what Ed is saying, that all these processes really require a lot of funding, all these processes require a lot of partnership, but very, very importantly, someone asked, is there communication between the training providers and you, the industry? Do the training providers know the skills that you want? I think that was the question.
Yeah, thank you, Ham. That's a very good question, and my answer to that is a very big resounding yes. I don't think there is any training institute in this country that can say they do not know what the employers need. And like one of the last gentlemen spoke about one of the mismatches that has failed to answer that question from our experience. Again, I used to sit on the Tourism Curriculum Development Committee of Makerere University Business School, the same at Makerere University, the tourism department, actually with Samora. We had a skills audit that is there in print on our website that has been availed to all the training institutes, which is what gave us the basis for this project. And at one time, I actually do remember that hotel owners wanted to take over HTTI because they said, we have this school, you're saying you don't have the money, we have the money, we have the market, give it to us, let us run it. But there's a big disconnect between government and the private sector. We work at different speeds, which makes it very difficult for us to be able to ably implement some of these programs together, which is why you'll see many times the employers will take matters into their own hands and employ expatriates who will come in with a lot of expertise, and it will cost them cheaper to hire somebody who can then be able to train their staff to serve their main duty, which is making profits. So there has been conversations in that regard, and that is why, as a middle ground, we work then with development partners who work at the same speed of the private sector. So one of the projects we are very proud about, and one of the most successful ones, is the apprenticeship project, because it's mainly run by development partner, private sector, in partnership with government. So there are ways to circumvent that loop. They are not always easy to be able to achieve, but when you do achieve them, you do have success. But it's a very big problem because many people will claim that they don't know this information, but this information has been there. There have been conversations, but like Enoch said, the curriculum review for many of these training institutes is 10, 15, even 20 years, while the market curriculum review is demanded after every 5 years. So that mismatch makes it very difficult for some of these partnerships to be very successful.
Thank you so much. I think, Enoch, you heard it.
Yeah.
Certainly, government moves fast. I know that. Well, I am sure they are saying yes. So, this mismatch, I think, is what you said the dual system would really want to solve. And I'm glad Jean confirms that there is already a starting point. And you have tested, I'm glad that they also tested the apprenticeship system with you, and you see it is really working well. What do you see? What do you think is the future? What could be your proposals now going forward as we get close to the end of this discussion?
Yeah, I would agree that the private sector is moving faster than government. And One of the reasons is government by nature is a big, huge institution, bureaucratic in nature. Although I think here in Uganda we are a little bit more sluggish as a government than we should be, and we need indeed to move faster and faster. But one of the things government is doing is the demarcation of roads, and government would want to concentrate on policy. Government would want to concentrate on the issues of policy. What policy do we need to make things move? And then we leave the work to the private sector to do. Skilling, the private sector can do a lot of it. Look at by the way, government institutions, the schools. Because of entry of many private schools, very many government schools are doing very well with that competition. But the idea is we concentrate on policy, and the way government makes its policy is clear, that we do not just sit down and think of a policy and come up with it. No, we involve the stakeholders. And the key stakeholder in any policy is the private sector. Every policy we make, we involve the private sector and to make sure that it's a good policy, it's an excellent policy, and then implementation takes place. And the government is really trying to make sure things move faster, faster, and faster. It is digitizing, it is doing many other things. Now, there was a question as to whether you use per diem. Given an opportunity, I would use the per diem. But if the per diem, many of my private travels don't involve per diem. By the way, I've not been in the government for very many years. My work life spans for about 20, 25 years, thereabout. And I've been in the government for less than 10 years. I come in government, then I get out of government. That is how I work. In the current appointment, I think I'm there for about 2 years, and crossed 2.5, I think. That's from 2019. My previous appointment, I was there for about 6 years, so that makes about 8.5 years in government. But before that, I had traveled most of the country. And one thing is that I love Uganda better than any other, because Uganda is the best destination. I want to assure you. My first time to travel to Kisoro, for example, I don't have any relative, even up to now, in Kisoro. I just boarded the bus as a young graduate. I wanted to see Kisoro. So the bus owner and money. The place where I slept and money. The food that I ate, they earned money. There was no per diem. I was just a young graduate. Just a young graduate, I had just completed. I wanted to see how Kisoro looks like. They were telling me about the rolling hills. And I've been to all those hills in Uganda, deep in Bugisu, everywhere. Then, yes, somebody talked about a way of adjusting curriculum to make it more practical than theoretical. The commissioner has mentioned a number of things. In addition to the practical versus theory, there is a key element, the soft skills. It is not about how well you can do the cooking, it is about the attitude. Actually, attitude will make you do it better. The world now is looking for people who are able and willing to learn. And in our workplaces, in our education institutions, that is an important culture to instill in the learners. Their ability, that is one, but the willingness to continuously learn. There's a lot of learning material everywhere now with the digital era. A lot everywhere. Are people willing to learn? Or they stop at that? And in many of the curricula, the apprenticeship curricula we've talked about, the soft skills are part of that curricula. And we encourage every learning institution to introduce the soft skills, because they are the key. It is not about your ability to do, it is about your attitude, it is about your willingness, it is about your likability. Do people like you, the clients, the people you work with, your employers? So how do you bring this into the workplace? It's very, very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think there was no way to conclude the discussion with those great remarks from Enoch. I think what I get from this discussion is that, yes, we can work together. Yes, there are so many opportunities that we can really have. The internships, the work-based learning, generally the internships, apprenticeships, and all the other forms of work-based learning. And that is a great opportunity for all of us. Issues of skills, it's not only about the technical skills, but also the soft skills. And for us to understand the soft skills, then the employers must be involved in some way. But also, very important, I think, issues of funding, we must balance the boat. That, yes, the employers will come in, but also, yes, all of us should really try to do our part and contribute to the skills financing. I think I'll request in less than 20 seconds that you give your parting shots. Just in less than 20 seconds, you can give your closing remarks. Eddie, please.
I want to thank Enable that has made it create time for us to discuss this very important issue. I want to encourage both of us, the private partners and government, to enhance the digitalization of this sector. This sector is running very fast. If we don't harness its technology and digital solutions, this sector is not going to grow. But I want also to encourage parents. I always have a question in my mind. Why do parents pay, say, 2.5 million school fees in secondary, in these upcoming secondary schools, you know, but you fail to pay even 500,000 in a vocational school? And that is where the problem comes from. They are not giving practicals because they are not funded. You parents, all of us here are not funding this sector. We despise. We have a low status syndrome in this sector. If your child goes to vocational school, you feel like he has not made it or she has not made it. We cannot continue as a country thinking that this is a sector for the failures or the raw achievers, and we think it is going to grow. I am happy that when we had this recent admissions regionally, we got some candidates of 1880 joining vocational. So I want to thank you and commit government and ministry to continue do what it can to improve this sector. I thank you.
Thank you so much. As fast as the private sector, could you please give your conclusion?
Okay, thank you, Ham. Mine is just a quick appeal, especially looking at the lessons learned from COVID. The people who had skills are the people who were able to thrive after the offices closed and other businesses closed. Those are the people who were able to morph into what they needed to be able to survive. So my appeal is for everybody to embrace skills development. My appeal is for people, young people, to not only look at going to universities, etc., look at skills, because that skill that you have in your hand is the one that in the long run will put food on your plate when push comes to shove.
Thank you so much. And finally, Enoch.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I am happy that there is a partnership already between the government, the private sector, in the area of training, the workers. In the labor sector, we talk of the tripartite arrangement, and we can see it happening. And if it is upheld and built on, I'm very sure this is going to bring better results in the area of skilling, especially not only for the tourism sector, but we need skilling in all other sectors of the economy. We mentioned about the apprenticeship and work-based learning programs that are beginning. Of course, the other thing is that we envisage that this is not going to be a bed of roses. There are several other challenges that are associated. Funding has been mentioned. We need to fast track the training levy, the skilling levy that was talked about. But of course, this one, as we said, will be having agreed with all the stakeholders. Then, of course, the other problem we envisage is that the value of training, actually the skilling and the learning and education in general, there is a disconnect. We need to, even some employers are not willing to sponsor their people to do learning. But of course, she explained, they need profit, but a better equipped worker is more productive. Productivity, we are doing very badly in terms of labor productivity within the region, and one of the reasons is this, the skilling. Then the other thing is, as we skill through apprenticeship, there are challenges. Of course, the private sector is also reluctant. If I train this employee after 4 or 5 years, and this person goes elsewhere, so there is that. All these are challenges that as we move further, we should be able to resolve. And finally, I would like to thank everybody, to thank Enabel, to thank DIT, Ministry of Education, to thank the association, the industry association, Jean and company, to thank everybody for investing time and money in this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think that was, again, you can agree with me that this was a perfect team to discuss a perfect topic. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I think you give them a very big hand clap. Well done. So you're free to stay there, but you're also free to get back to your seat. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to the audience for also listening and also your active participation in this discussion. Again, you can give yourselves a very big hand clap. And certainly, maybe you can also clap for me, and I hand over the microphone. Thank you so much. So Kathy can take over.
Thank you very much, Ham, and the panelists, and also the audience for a wonderful discussion. My take home from what has been happening here is that there seems to be one of us or two of us is not telling the other the truth. And the truth is, can we inform the hotel owners or the industry the benefits of getting these trainees? You know, you get someone, you train them, you retain them without incurring the costs of recruitment. So you train someone, you keep them, and they work for you. But then also, can we tell the industry, I mean the schools, to train people that are employable so that they can get more market? Why don't we become centers of excellency? And they know that, let's say maybe Millennium Business School is the one to give us cateresses or caterers or chefs or anything. So that you market yourself as a center of excellency to the industry, so that we all know the benefits. But also, can we tell the students that do your best while at school, do your best while in the industry, so that you can be retained. The hassle of looking for a job is real. So if you do your best, then you'll be assured of employment immediately. So let us share these benefits with the three parties involved, so that it can become a very, very smooth operation. Thank you very much. I invite you to break. I'm sure majority of us have been taking some bites a little bit. Let us take a 15-minute break. And how I wish that we would have a working break. You pick your tea, you come back, then we continue, because we need to salvage some time. Thank you very much. You've been wonderful. Found, there is some money that has been found here on my desk here. You must tell me how much it is for me to give it to you. I don't know what you have lost.